everybody, and welcome to the ROTI Reflections of Turtle Island Educational Series. I'm Les Fry, and I'm a ROTI Board member. I also run our social media and videos, and I'm with our board members this evening. Tonight, our show is regarding our powwow that will be this weekend, May 4th and 5th at Manatawny Creek. And we're going to just give you a little bit of a background about how we started the powwow and some powwow etiquette if you decide to join us or if you decide to join any other powwow in the future. With me this evening is our head of our board, Mr. Ron Williams, and his partner, and I would say you are our chief of staff, Mary.
I like that. She has been mine for 54 years.
Mary is our chief of staff. And then we have a new board member, Erica Morrison, who just joined us recently about a couple of months ago. So I'm going to let her give a little background about herself. But before we start any of our events, we're just going to do a little brief. It is our policy to do a land acknowledgement. So if you'd like to read along with us, please do so. So let us take a moment and pause to acknowledge the traditional stewards of the lands that we now reside upon, and especially the Lenape, their ancestors, descendants, and all indigenous people who now live and have ever lived on our regions of Turtle Island and beyond. But more than acknowledgement, let's honor and support our existing indigenous communities by helping them continue their land-based practices, traditions, and way of life, by dispelling false narratives about their history and people while promoting their authentic truths, helping them heal from past wrongs and offenses, and assisting them in protecting and restoring back to health the land, nature, and water, which brings life. Aho.
Aho.
Amen. Amen. So, as I said, we do have some new board members. One of our board members, she's not with us this evening, but we do have the beautiful Erica Morrison on. Eric and I have known each other for about the last 2 years, and she was looking for something to do within the indigenous space, and I told her about ROTI. And she was just so eager to just learn a little bit more about us. And as a result of that, here she is. She's part of our board right now. So, Erica, I'm going to just give the stage to you just to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you joined ROTI and what your plans are for us as a board member.
Absolutely. Thanks, Les. And can you hear me okay? I know I'm outside.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. This is during my on my way home commute, so I chose to walk and hope for the best. But nice to meet everyone. I'm Erica Morrison. I'm originally from Torrington, Connecticut. My family, however, has ties to New Mexico, where my grandmother was born on the reservation, had an arranged marriage at 13, 4 kids by the age of 17, and was one of the strongest, kindest, most loving women I've ever met. After she ran away from home, she settled in Connecticut, where she met my grandfather. And she's just been a huge influence on my life. I'm one of 4 girls. My mom was one of 7 children, and seeing the hardships that they faced and not having access to education, as well as some of the hereditary concerns that some of them are no longer with us. It's just been my mission and my calling to try to bring awareness and opportunities to people from indigenous communities, like the one my grandmother is from. And the fact that the infrastructure in New Mexico and Arizona still hasn't changed much to the advantage of the many territories out there has really just been such an eye-opening experience. So when I was able to go to college, I chose Syracuse University because of its reverence and recognition for indigenous culture, where I actually completed my honors thesis on missing and murdered indigenous women, as well as the story of my grandmother's background. And I think when people not from within the community hear you're indigenous or native or anything of that nature, they sort of assume everyone across the board is the same, or they think, oh, like, you're from Connecticut, so you must know so-and-so from Florida. And it's like, that's not how that works. Or you must practice this tradition, when that's not at all the case. So this educational series that Les and I met doing at Microsoft, our current company, has really tried to bring some awareness to that within our company. Prior to joining Microsoft, which is where I met Les, I was at NASA, and I helped found the first Indigenous employee resource group there. So I was able to share my documentary that I produced on my grandmother's life story, and I think a lot of good has come from it. I still stay in touch with a lot of people from that community. I look for opportunities both in my role and outside of my role to try to give back. I think my community is a big reason why I've had the success that I've had. And as well as in joining ROTI, when I came to the first meeting just to meet Ron, Mary, the other people that Les had been speaking about so highly for so long, I did not envision myself becoming a board member, but I loved the energy. I loved the mission. I loved the purpose, and really was honored that they even asked me to join. I think that a lot of my professional experience has kind of been, on the sideline of what I hope to accomplish in my life. So to be able to be a part of something bigger than myself is just a really, really fulfilling purpose. And I'm so honored and thrilled to be here and look forward to being in Pennsylvania this weekend for Powwow.
Thank you, Erica. I mean, it was so eloquent what you just spoke about. Geez. So yes, I'm very proud that you're on here, and I'm looking forward to everything that you plan on accomplishing with this board and us working together to make ROTI successful. Ron and Mary are going to speak to us this evening about the powwow. And I asked Ron to kind of give us a little background on our powwow, how it got started, and just some powwow etiquette that you need to know if you decide to join us this weekend, or if you decide to join any powwow during the year. This is powwow season, so you're going to see a lot of powwows pop up. You may see us there. We pretty much stay in the same circles. So I'm interested in hearing a little bit about this, because I think a lot of people are intimidated when going to powwows and not really sure what to expect. I actually had somebody reach out to us today and wanted to know respectfully if this was only for Indigenous people. And I told her everyone is welcome, because we have a spirit of embracing people who come to learn a little bit about us and who we are as a people, our traditions, our ways. So you are welcome. Even if you are not Indigenous, please come and support, see our vendors, see what our practices, how we do, dance in the circle with us, and just learn a little bit more about us. So we're going to do a brief presentation this evening about the powwow, how it started. So I'm going to let Ron start this evening with how we started this powwow here in Manatawny Creek. Go ahead, Ron.
So I apologize, and I need to explain that sometimes when somebody gives me a microphone, it's an opportunity, and there are times that one might say I take advantage of that opportunity, because I realize that there are a lot of questions that need to be answered that even if they aren't asked, I assume that the questions are out there. When I first approached this community and met my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but I was stationed at a Army hospital close by, and my first experience in Pennsylvania was getting to know some of the characters that wandered around here. And over the years, it has become a bit of a challenge to understand the historical impact that the Indigenous community has had on this region. So one day, I was wandering about our town, and I came to an area that kind of looks like a park, but also looks like a homeless shelter. And it was a pergola with a great big giant rock in the middle of the post, and weed bushes growing around it. And I went up to it, and there was a plaque on this rock, this humongous rock. And the plaque said, here in the year 1859, workers from Pottstown were clearing this area, which had been actually along the banks of the river, of the Schuylkill River, and that they uncovered the remains of a well-dressed Native American with instruments to carry him into the next crossing, the next journey that he would be taking. And So I sat and looked around, and I noticed that it was a mess. I cleaned it up a little bit simply because it was a reflection of a piece of respect to Native Americans. The individual that was exhumed from that location uh, was assumed to be a important person because of how well dressed and how well provided he was for his afterlife. Um, his remains were eventually removed to the local library, and over the next 12 years from that 1859 date, other homes, as people were digging into their cellars to expand them or anything like that, they discovered more remains, and those remains all ended up being exhibited somewhere. Well, as luck would have it, all of the remains and artifacts that were uncovered in that period have disappeared. They've gone somewhere else. But I took it upon myself to start cleaning that area up. And one day, our mayor, Bonnie Heath, and I were helping to do some street cleanup around town. And I said I was going down there to do cleaning around the memorial. She ran down with me. And during the course of our little venture there, she mentioned to me that there had been a powwow in Pottstown at one time, and she didn't know whatever happened to it, but she thought it would be a good idea to exploit that celebration and let people know a little bit more about the native culture or the indigenous culture that existed in our town. So I gathered up a friend, a person who had been my daughter's Girl Scout leader, who's also Cherokee, who is intimately involved in the Cherokee community around Philadelphia. And she and her brother helped me put together the first powwow. This was 11 years ago. And we put she introduced me to people who could help me. I came from out west. I didn't know anybody out here, but she worked with me hard to put this powwow together. And we put it together, and it was well received and has been every year since then. The important element of the meetings and the people that we met was that everybody that we worked with from that point forward has experience in presenting powwows and has experience in the traditions of powwows. A powwow is an important celebration, bringing together families and friends to reunite or reconnect with one another. If you look at the history of powwow, and Dennis Zotigh, Zotigh, is probably one of the premier scholars on the subject. He teaches, he operates out of the Indian Museum in Washington, D.C. He teaches classes. He has been internationally recognized, has been throughout Europe, telling the story of the powwow and Native American culture and celebration. Dennis it's worth looking into the material that he's producing. We'll tell you that the powwow originated, it actually, for a very long period of time after reservations were created, Native Americans living in the United States were restricted. It was illegal for them to dance, to perform celebrations. After World War I, the number of veterans who came home who were Native American was suddenly accepted to participate in celebrations. And that's when dancing amongst Native Americans became an acceptable trait. So the powwow is an offshoot of the participation by military, in the military by Native Americans. There are rules that go back a very long time in when gathering to commune with one another that you recognize, that we're not getting together to celebrate victory or anything else. Like, we're getting together so that we can retain our awareness of one another and awareness of our culture. There are rules that we have developed over the years. Since the camera came into existence, we began to say, you can't take a camera to take pictures of certain events. And so we have MCs who will tell you when you may photograph an event. Most of them are celebratory in nature, that you can photograph away all the way you want. If a person is in regalia, you may not take their picture without their permission. It's technically, we want you to acknowledge that we exist, but as you acknowledge us, we're more than happy to stand and show you our pride. This picture you're seeing right there are the mainstay of the powwow. The drum is our way of communicating to Mother Earth, and it's how we speak to each other too. And we speak in different languages, but those languages are interpretable. Have I gone too far?
No, I did want to tell, just to educate people where that word powwow came from. Powwow is an Algonquin word, which means he dreams. And it's been translated into what we now today see as powwow, Powwow. And to Ron's point about the drum and the song, this is very important. It is the heartbeat of every powwow. This is one of those times where Ron was saying, you can't take a picture. You have to ask our drummers if you could take a picture of them. That's just because this is very sacred, what is happening here, the drumming. So we will tell you throughout the powwow when and where you can take a picture. Our MC may not tell you about the drummers, but we have to ask them with respect if we can take a photo of them while they're singing and drumming.
So the drums and the communication that we use with powwow songs for a time, as powwows were becoming a traditional effort by the different tribal communities. The different tribal communities would use their own language to sing the songs that we all recognize. The problem is, and it's interesting that you point out the Algonquin connection. Most tribes throughout the nations, the Plains tribes, the Southern tribes, and many of the Eastern tribes, are descendants of some Algonquin element. And as we talk about the spread of civilization, the European civilization, it goes the opposite weird direction. Most of the Algonquin expressions and spread came from the West and moved to the East. The Iroquois speak a different language, but have been influenced by the Algonquin language. The ceremonies are all influenced by the Algonquin, but the Navajo, you can go throughout this nation, this rock, this island that we're on, and you will discover an Algonquin influence. So it's an important piece of history that we need to recognize. But as tribal communities began to gather and share songs with one another, it was hard for a traditional Cherokee family to recognize the words of a traditional Choctaw language, although they were similar in nature. So what we have in drum songs are words that are created so that everybody could understand them. They're not, they don't have definition. And it's an interesting piece of music history with our dancing culture. You will also see dancers dressed in different
Regalia.
And the stories that go along with them are also similarly blended so that they make sense from one tribe to another, one tribal community to another, one community to another. And we talk the history during powwow to explain what we're doing and why we're doing it.
In this photo right here, this is a fancy shawl dancer. So the MC will usually ask all fancy shawl dancers to come out. This is something that is passed down. It's a traditional dance. There are steps to this, and that's what you're known by. So not everybody could just come into the circle and dance fancy shawl. There are things that you should learn about this. And there's also our male fancy dancers as well. Sometimes the MC will say that, all male fancy dancers come into the circle and dance. So they'll come in and dance and stuff. But yes, you'll see different types of regalia. Most people might see jingle dresses, which is a common regalia that you might see. Also, something that's passed down through tradition to learn how to be a jingle dress dancer. So there are very deep traditions within our community. One of the things that we often start off with is a color guard at the beginning of each powwow. And Ra, can you speak to that a little bit?
I can speak to it a lot. That's just traditionally, color guard is a presentation of the Native American flag, the United States flag. Any tribe who shows up, any tribal member who shows up with a flag of their tribe is invited to bring their flag into the ring during the grand entry, and we have all 5 services recognized at most powwows. We have the grand entry is split into 2 different sections. One is the presentation of the flags, and it's as solemn as presenting the national flag to the audience. We are presenting our flags to express the respect that we have for all of the nations that we represent, including the primary nation of our Indian culture and the dominant national recognition that we have of the United States of America. So we have had a Mexican eagle flag. We've had flags from other countries presented at different powwows, and it's a honoring and an expression of respect for the people of these lands, regardless of where they originate from. The grand entry, once it's cycled around first and the flags are presented, we ask our flag bearers to post those flags. Now, in the past, we've had the police department color guard bringing up the primary colors. We usually have veterans presenting those flags, and often they will be carrying their own service flags in addition to the normal flags. But it is a solemn moment. It is a time that we ask people not to take photographs, because we sing the Native American national anthem once the flags are presented.
Thank you, Ron. Just a little bit known history too about us as Native Americans. 98% of us serve in the armed forces. This is still our country. We're still going to serve it. Despite what has happened to us politically, militarily in the past, this is still our land. And so we're going to fight for it. So you're going to see a lot of us who have been in the armed forces proudly displaying that during this our color guard session or our grand entry. Ron, can you just explain a little bit to about the role of the MC, what the MC does at each
Sure,
event? Thank
sure. Well, there's always got to be somebody that's running the show, and we've had an incredible MC from the very beginning. You'll go to any powwow, and the MC is usually an elder, as a person who is more than aware of. Oh, one other thing I just wanted to mention, that the songs that are sang during the course of the powwow are sung in the language. I just started to talk about the languages and like that. In time's gone by, as the different cultures were meeting with each other, they came up with this idea of creating, okay, take a pencil and paper out, folks, vocables. Vocables are not known words of any kind, but they're words that fit the songs. They're sounds that fit the songs. And so I say to people who want to sing some songs, don't be ashamed. You're not speaking wrong. Go check, see if that's my. Oh, yeah. And so I wanted to leave that last part with that information. When you hear singing in the circle, sometimes you will hear true language being repeated, but the vocables are the languages of the communities of people. Okay. As far as the MCs are concerned, like I say, those are usually an elder or many elders who have gathered together to share their wisdom, to share their awareness of the individuals that are presenting, and of the individuals that are singing or dancing, and they are well-respected members of the culture. The unfortunate reality of Pennsylvania is that we do not have tribes in Pennsylvania, because there are no recognized Native American communities that the Pennsylvania government has taken the time and consideration to consider as a legitimate, recognized nation. A lot of this goes back to a time when there were nations represented. The Iroquois had a confederacy and had adopted any number of tribal affiliations in what we consider Pennsylvania, Delaware, New York. But with the introduction of the European method of recognizing people, we finally we came to a point where William Penn, of course, with pen and pencil, was able to purchase legitimately in some ways the lands that the Lenape felt were important to them, but also felt comfortable allowing other people to live on them. However this happens, we remove the presence of tribal affiliations from Pennsylvania and from many of these other areas. Some have regained some of that recognition. Upstate New York is inundated with small tribal communities, but they're legitimate tribal communities recognized by the United States government, and so that's good. Pennsylvania, we do not have that. Therefore, when we come down to the point of trying to present ourselves to the governing bodies here, we don't have that awareness. We don't have that ability to create that awareness within the government today. There are people making efforts to change that, but for the time being, we are a community of people who know what their history is, who know where they came from, and who know what their affiliation is. And our presenters, our people organizing like that, we are indigenous. I am Southern Ute myself, but my mother has some Arapaho blood in her. I have relatives who are Yaqui. So I guess I have the right to claim a little bit of Yaqui, and then people say, "What the hell's a Yaqui?" And that creates a lot of fun for me. But I am also invested in regaining my relationship with my Arapaho, with some Arapaho friends, and because I've got family that does kind of emanate from that area as well. So who we are and who we represent is important to us. I'm in Pennsylvania and I'm working very hard to bring that recognition of whoever needs to be recognized to the people that need to know about that recognition. So powwows help. Organizations like the Circle Legacy Center, the American Indian Society. I'm a member of their board of directors. And we do a number of things. We have a Pocahontas event that takes place in the later part of the summer down in Richmond, Virginia, at the museum down there. And just anything and everything. I have spoken outside of the American Indian Museum in Washington, D.C., and on what you people call, well, many people call Christopher Columbus Day. We call it Indigenous Peoples Day. And I speak to the issue of the doctrine of discovery and everything else. It's the idea is we are still here. We don't want people to think that there ain't no Indians here. We're here.
Thank you, Ron. And if you are joining us, or if you're joining any powwow this season, just recognize that, we embrace everyone coming in. If just that you're respectful, you're learning, you're figuring it out. If you're in any form of discovery or rediscovery of who you are, like Ron was saying, you know who you are. If your people are called out to come in and dance in the circle, if you feel that connection, we welcome you coming in and learning and dancing with us. We do have certain dances that we do in the circle. We might have a stomp dance, or we might have a sweetheart dance. There's several dances that we can do where we have all tribal dance. So with anybody of any tribal affiliation or anybody of any specific heritage can come in and dance, as long as you are of an indigenous affiliation. But everybody can come in and dance in the circle. Mm-hmm. So the point is that no matter where you are in your journey, if you feel a part of this, please join us and come and learn. You will learn a lot of things. These are pictures actually from our powwow, from previous powwows. We have people come all the way from Canada for this powwow. People from the Aztec Nation. Just everybody comes and joins our powwow. And we are just really excited, because what has happened a lot of times is that people who do the powwow circuit often know each other. So we always go and support one another at powwows. It's like a family type of thing. Wouldn't you say, Ron?
I would say that more than anything else. Absolutely true. Let me just say this as well, and it's important. I and my wife started a mission in 2016 to support the families of the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation after making a trip out to the Dakota Access Pipeline resistance. I came back home and I told my wife about the poverty and the sadness that existed on that Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. In the years that every month we load up a trailer and with food, clothing, furniture items, children's items, anything that the folks need out there, we take it out there and have been over these past 8 years. Overwhelmingly contributed to, so that we can support families out there. Some homes are pitifully built, and during the winter there are fires, homes are lost, and we do a lot there. I've been adopted in an interesting way by one of the families there. But one of the sayings that we have during some of our celebrations is Miteake Yashku. We are all the same. We are talking about everybody. We are all the same. I don't care what blend of magic it took to make you the person that you are. Your indigenous background brings you into our family, our entire family, and we are all the same.
That's right. That's right. And that's one of my favorite sayings, by the way, that we are all one. You know, um, one of the things that if you do come, I think that one of the things that I really love about this powwow is the sweetness of the atmosphere of this powwow. We've grown in the few years that I've been attending. Before I became a board member, I had attended prior to that. So I think this is my third year of doing the powwow, and I've seen it grow. But more than anything, I felt a warm sense of community. People coming there, a warm sense of respect for one another, and it's just a beautiful atmosphere. So if you are in the Pennsylvania area this Saturday and Sunday, please come and join us. Please check out some of our vendors. We usually have vendors that are there that are selling Native American handcrafted items. We do have a very stringent policy about our vendors. If you're looking to vend with us in the future at some point, one of the things that is important to Ron, and I want him to explain this, is what he's looking for in a vendor when we have somebody come and vend at our powwow. So, Van, can you just kind of talk about that a little bit, Ron?
Well, I mean, the very first thing that we and from the very beginning, Pat Harbach, my spirit in the development of this community, expressed to me that many vendors will bring merchandise that was made in China, made in India, made in Taiwan, made in Vietnam, that is not indigenous, that is prefabricated materials, that is plastic prepared materials and like that. And most powwows will, we put this message out to vendors right from the very beginning that we would inspect their merchandise, and if they were bringing non-indigenous material into the powwow community, that we would invite them to leave, because the one thing that we want to express is that our vendors are preparing, in many cases, are handcrafting the art that they're preparing to express their indigenous history, not to express China's understanding of indigenous history. You get dream catchers that are made all over the Asian and European area, but these are not reflective of the stories of the dream catchers. And stuffed animals, I just have a heart attack when or I feel like I should, if I see a vendor with all these stuffed animals, and it's like, this is not a carnival. And if you want that, it sounds kind of rude, but if you're looking for that sort of a treat for your children like that, go to a circus, or go to Atlantic City, go somewhere where the reality, the life, the history of the people isn't presented in that material. But that is the arts and crafts materials that I present, the silverwork, the bracelets, the necklaces, the regalia items. Those are an expression of our history. And so it's a little bit hard line, I think, but it isn't that much of a hard.
I'm going to step in because I'm going to tell a brief story about why it's important for us to sell items that are created by our indigenous community. So I brought a guest with me a couple of years back, and her son was about to graduate from high school, and she wanted something special for him. It was her first time ever being in this environment. She's somebody on the road of rediscovery about her. She's from South America. Her family is Peruvian, and they're of indigenous heritage, and she wanted something that had that connection to it. We have a spear maker that is one of our vendors there, and he handcrafts all of his knives, his items, and everything. And she saw something that spoke to her. He asked her, did it speak to her? And she said, this speaks to me. And he said, and it had a price tag on it. I'm not going to say what the price tag was, but she was like, I just think it's a little too expensive for me to pay. But she, she was,
Yeah.
he says, I tell you what, he said, go walk around, come back, and then tell me what your spirit tells me you should pay for this.
Exactly.
So understand this. This is not necessarily to make money. Yes, we want to support our vendors and everything, but they understand who we are as people. And so they're going to approach it the way that we would culturally approach a situation. Mm-hmm. Now, it ended up that her spirit told her to pay more, and she did. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, this is what happens at these events. And this is why any old item will not do. Any old stuffed animal, anything that is created respectfully, if it is produced or mass produced somewhere, it just does not have the connectivity that we're looking for as that our vendors do for us here at the Powwow, that give us at this Powwow.
Each and every one of our vendors participates in the creation of what they are presenting. And I can't say that they're insulted by other vendors who show up who don't have that commitment, but I hear from them about these other communities of people who are selling items simply to raise money for somebody else. And it's very common knowledge that some of our powwows are infiltrated by families who have more than one vendor commitment. So you may have 3 people under different names show up with exactly the same merchandise and locate themselves in different parts of the powwow vending community. They're the same people selling the same merchandise, and it's not indigenous, but they show up anyway. And when you tell them that they haven't paid a fee, they argue with you, and sometimes you let them stay and sometimes you don't. But they're taking away from the people who have made a commitment to prepare indigenous artwork and handwork that expresses a history. And it's a matter of respect. And in my case, when I tell them they can't be there, they consider it to be disrespectful to them because they're who they are. And I'm saddened that I have to ask people to leave because they are raising families too, but they're raising them on monies that they don't earn. They give it to somebody else who then pays them a salary or whatever.
Yeah, that's a whole nother method of that we know about. But we just want our vendors to understand that if you are turned away, please understand that this is what we're looking for in our vendors. So I wanted just to clear that up because it's not any form of a racism or anything that we're displaying there. We just understand what we're looking for at our powwow when it comes to our vendors. Thank you, Ron, for explaining that. So we're going to wrap up. We've got about 15 minutes, but I want to wrap up early. Is there anything that you want to say to our audience about joining our powwow this weekend?
I do. Me.
15 minutes, Ron. We got
and I'll just give you a few minutes of this one.
Okay,
while we were on imaging here a little earlier, I got a phone call from a young man who was at our powwow last year. He's a hoop dancer, and he wanted to call to confirm, to let me know that he would be here this year. Hoop dancers are not necessarily. I think you have a picture. If you,
it's from last year. If you can see it.
Let me see if I can get that a little bit closer. This is our hoop dancer from last year.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, that's him. That's Joaquin. and he will be back this year. Matt, one of our head dancers, is also a hoop dancer, and so last year we had both of them out in the ring performing. That's one. Number two, before Saturday, before Color Guard and before Grand Entry, we have a storyteller, Pat Harbach, the person who, my spiritual guide for the powwow, will be storytelling. If she can go for 2 hours, she will go for 2 hours. She captivates the parents and the children with her stories, and they're indigenous stories. And I recommend highly that if you, especially you got your kids with you, come early, listen to the storyteller, and I assure you on Saturday you will be overwhelmed with what she presents to you. And then on Sunday, I pray Creator will give us a clear sky on Sunday, because we have a member, Lauren Garrett, who is Shoshone. She comes out of Wind River Reservation in Wyoming. My mother comes out of Wind River on the other side of that reservation and the Arapaho side. But Lauren has worked for a number of indigenous organizations from Colorado to Pennsylvania. She's now an adjunct professor down at Newman University, and she teaches a class on Native American culture. She is a violinist and an artist.
She performed last year.
Last year on Sunday, she did a performance before Grand Entry on Sunday.
Beautiful.
She will be back on this Sunday. If we got good weather, she's going to perform for us. And she tells the story where her guidance to becoming a musician is based on a tribal community in Canada of women who are not Native, but they are the wives and the children of Native people, and they have an incredible performance, and they present themselves through Europe and through all of Canada, and they are all violinists. Every single woman and Lauren will tell us a little bit about them. I've looked them up. I would give you the names right now, and I have to go punch my machine to get the name. But we're going to have Lauren there talking to us about that. She's also an incredible artist. Her specialty is to create expressions of indigenous fairies. That is,
yes,
little people.
I've seen them. They're beautiful, by the way. If you are into like art, anime, manga. You definitely need to check her out, and she does have a website. Maybe we can put that in post after the show.
Great idea.
Actually, too, I need you to speak briefly on the ceremony that we usually have prior to our reflection, prior to the powwow, where we go to the grave site and we do a little presentation. Are we still doing that this year?
I don't think so. I think Tracy's condition is kind of needed. Out of necessity, we need to back up a little bit on that.
Okay.
And whether or not people are aware, I had a serious accident in November. I was chasing Aquaman.
Stop it! No, we don't want to hear that.
No, I have to. I fell off of my roof, and I fell 3 stories to the sidewalk, and I had some serious injuries, including skull fractures and brain damage. I'm just coming back, and I'm starting to be a little bit better. And she doesn't want me to tell the story of how I tried to save Aquaman, who was running away from a hawk and being chased by a cloud dragon, but I won't tell that story and I jumped up and flew over to try to save Aquaman, and everybody went in the ground but me.
And he was heavily medicated.
I can't tell that story because she gives me that big no.
Anyway.
And what about parking? Can you explain our parking situation?
Parking will be at the college parking lots across the street. We have a parking lot at the powwow site. It's limited to handicap and elders and vendors. So across the street and just half a block up from where the powwow is is the college parking lot is open for our visitors, and you have to walk down a little bit and cross the street and come into the powwow. But it's a little healthy. It's not a dangerous highway.
And if this is your first time coming to a powwow, there will be food trucks there. We will be selling fry bread tacos, regular fry bread.
All kinds of fry
food
bread.
is usually delicious. So
if you get a cholesterol issue, you might be scared, but we're in good condition.
Right. So we will have food there if you're looking if you're hungry when you attend. So we will have food there. Mm-hmm. So we've got about 5 minutes before we leave. I didn't have any questions from our audience members, but if you do have any questions about the powwow, please reach out to us and we can answer them in post. Or you can message us on our Facebook page at Reflections of Turtle Island ROTI or Powwow at Manatawny Creek. Either one of those places, you can send us a message and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. We do hope that we see you there this weekend. Come and join us. Ron does have one more thing to say. Go ahead, Ron.
After grand entry on Saturday, the women of the Circle Legacy Center and the American Indian Society of Washington, D.C., and a few others have accepted my invitation to present a healing song to our elders, which includes me, and to others who have suffered in any way this year. And I just want you to know that we will have a solemn period after grand entry, and so stick around a little bit. And we ask all the women, Indigenous women who are familiar with any of these songs, to please join us in the circle for the songs and any dance that I'm not sure who's making the arrangements right now, but I have been informed that we have some people who are going to present the healing ceremony.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you for letting us know that. All right, so we've got about 4 minutes before we tune out. Just to let our audience members know, our educational series is each month at the end of the last Tuesday of each month, but we are going on hiatus until September. So this is our last show until September. Please join us in September 2024. We come back. We're going to be doing discussions on identity, indigenous identity, indigenous heritage, and maybe have some other special guests along with us for our series. Also, you can please support ROTI at rotius.org. Our donations do go to our campaign at Pine Ridge Reservation, and just for maintenance of our community. We do use our funds wisely. So look at partnering with us as far as promoting our educational series, our initiative in Pine Ridge, and some of the other community efforts that we have out there. Anything else before we wrap up, Mary and Ron?
One other thing, it's like always having to have the last word. There is no fee for entering our powwow.
Oh yes, that's important.
We do accept donations, and those donations can range from a penny to thousands. We don't get many pennies, but we don't get many thousands either. But everybody is welcome. We won't turn anybody away unless there's an honest reason to return some people. But I've yet to turn anybody away from our powwow. Over the years, we've invited people to participate and to become part of the family, and that's what we do. Every powwow, we become a bigger family, and we welcome you.
Yes, we do. So thank you for joining us. We'll see you at the powwow, and then after that, our educational series in September of 2024. I believe the date is September the 24th. We'll be back with the educational series. And I'd like to thank our board members who participated this evening, Ron and Mary and Erica, who had to drop. But hopefully we'll be back in full session in September so that you can meet our other new board members. Yes, Ron.
One more thing.
I just want to think, for those of you who really feel like you might be lucky, when I got out of the hospital, when Mary went to bring me home so she could continue as my caretaker, I told her that I was committed to becoming a stand-up comedian in my next life. So if you're lucky, I'm in. Okay, I'm done.
You're going to do stand-up at the powwow?
No,
I'm working.
no.
What do you mean, no? Wait a minute.
Mary, please order. Mary, please order a big cane with a hook around it so we can pull him off like the guy on the Apollo Theater. Okay.
Okay. It was great. It was great being here today. I hope that those of you folks that were paying attention closely, that we'll see you. And if we don't see you, I hope that you'll look for powwows in your region. Give them a try. Don't be reluctant to try dancing. Dancing is not that difficult, because in all other circumstances, regardless of anything else, if you just walk around in a circle, you're dancing.
Yeah, you're connecting with Mother Earth.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, audience members who joined us. I love you too very much. I'll see you this weekend, and pray that we have beautiful weather. All right. Have a good evening, you all. Take care.
Thank you, Leslie.
And a special shout out to our board member, Tracy. We're praying for you as well.
Yes.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Aho.